Hello there, I'm Lady Loy, and I just wanted to talk about a person, really, Tunis Campbell, for Black History Month. Sometimes it's really good to kind of remind ourselves where we come from and the people who played part in where we are now. So I'm going to tell you a little short story if you'd like to put your feet up and have a nice cup of coffee. Consider this an afternoon or a bedtime story. And I've called it Tunis Campbell, Leadership, Land and the Fight for Freedom. Reconstruction in America was a moment of hope, resistance and hard work. It was the period when formerly enslaved people moved from bondage towards the uncertain promise of citizenship. And in this time, one man stood out whose name is not widely known, but whose work shaped lives and communities. His name is Tunis Campbell. Tunis Campbell was born free on April the 1st, 1812, in New Jersey. Unlike most black people in America at that time, he was educated from the age of 5 to 18 in an all-white Episcopal school. That education gave him literacy, confidence, and a view of the wider society that most African Americans could not access. Instead of using that advantage to assimilate, he applied it to challenge oppression, fight injustice, and build opportunities for others. Before the Civil War, Campbell worked as a preacher, abolitionist, lecturer, and community organizer in New York and Boston. He co-owned a bakery, helped fugitive enslaved people, and organized schools for black children. He was building skills, savings, and networks, and that would later allow him to make a lasting impact. During the Civil War, Campbell was appointed by the US government to help resettle freed people on the Georgia Sea Islands. Union forces had taken control of the Georgia Sea Islands and the plantation owners had fled. Thousands of formerly enslaved people remained, but their futures were uncertain. Some hoped the government would redistribute the land. After all, there had been talk among Union leaders about 40 acres and a mule. That talk never became broad policy, but it became a symbol of what many freed people longed for: economic autonomy. When former Southern planters returned under President Andrew Johnson's pardons, they reclaimed the land, pushing freed families off the land where they had lived and worked for generations. It was in this brutal moment of reversal that Tunis Campbell made one of the most significant decisions. Instead of waiting for government handouts, which had never materialized, he began buying land himself. He purchased roughly 1,200 acres in McIntosh County around Darien, Georgia. This was a remarkable achievement. Think about what it meant: a black man in the midst of the Reconstruction South buying and holding land at a scale that rivaled many white landowners. Where did the money come from? Well, the answer is that Campbell's resources came from a combination of his pre-war work, his savings, his connections, and likely support from Northern allies who believed in black land ownership and self-determination. He had worked in business and community leadership for years, and he was a disciplined man who understood money and property. But make no mistake, acquiring that land was not a simple transaction. It was an act of profound courage and strategy. He helped build a community where people could farm, live, educate their children, and gain economic independence. Campbell understood that land ownership was tied to power. If black people could own land, they could vote. If they could vote, they could elect representatives who would protect their rights. And so he became deeply involved in politics. He worked as a voter registrar. He served as Justice of the Peace. He was a delegate to Georgia's Constitutional Convention in 1867 and 1868. He was elected to the Georgia State Senate in 1868. His tenure was met, however, with fierce resistance. White legislators tried to expel black lawmakers, and groups like the Ku Klux Klan threatened violence, arguing that black people could vote but not hold office. Campbell and others fought back. and eventually returned to their seats. All of this made him a target. Campbell survived home burnings, poisonings, and attacks on his family, organising militias to protect his community. Campbell was falsely charged with crimes, convicted and sentenced to hard labour in a chain gang. It was a calculated move to remove a strong black leader from public life. After his imprisonment, he left Georgia. He continued to advocate for civil rights, writing about his experiences and speaking in Washington, D.C. He published an autobiography chronicling the sufferings he and his family endured, the triumphs and the betrayals. Campbell's legacy is measured not by the hardship he faced, but by the lives he changed. The families who gained land, the communities that organised, the young people who received education, and the political structures he helped shape. His story reminds us that freedom without opportunity is incomplete, and that leadership is about purpose, courage, and practical action. So when we talk about Black History Month, it's important not just to celebrate figures who have been mythologized, but to understand the complexity of people like Tunis Campbell. He was a leader forged in the difficult reality of the 19th century America, a man who took the tools he had, education, faith, organizational skills, and economic discipline, and used them to build something enduring for others. He did not pursue power for his own sake. He pursued justice. He pursued opportunity for his people. He pursued dignity. Many of us learn history in broad strokes. Slavery was abolished. Reconstruction succeeded for a while, then Jim Crow erased progress. And the civil rights movement picked up a century later. But the lived reality was messy. It was brutal. It was hopeful. It was painful. Tunis Campbell lived in that messy space. He was shaped by education, shaped by struggle, shaped by the contradictions of a nation claiming to be free while denying freedom. And yet he did not surrender. He organised landowners. He fought for voting rights. He led in the legislature. He risked his life and freedom for the people he served. The measure of his life is not in the pain he suffered, but in the lives he changed, like I said before. The families that gained land, the people who got educated, the communities that learned they could stand, not because the law said so, but because they insisted on it. So think of Tunis Campbell not as a footnote, but as a central actor in the story of America's struggle with freedom and equality. His life reminds us that leadership comes not just from position, but from purpose. It reminds us that freedom without economic opportunity is incomplete. It reminds us that when people organise land, community and politics together, they shape the future. And finally, his story reminds us that when debates about land, opportunity, justice and inclusion continue, Tunis Campbell's life stands as a testament to what is possible when courage meets commitment. And that's all I've got to say for now. I hope you found that useful as Black History Month ensues throughout February. I'll find other historians and influences, black influences, who have shaped our lives and we didn't know about it. So, for now, I'll say my goodbyes and take care.